What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Be the Fish, and on today's episode we're going to walk through my entire kayak setup that I got here right next to me, show you what it looks like when it's fully loaded, and show you what one of the most rigged out kayak setups looks like. Now before we get into this and walk through my kayak and all the different gadgets and such and how I rig it, I want to preface that you do not need all of this to catch a bass and do well fishing from a kayak. You can have bare bones, you don't even need the Hobie. You can just take a paddle, a kayak, a PFD, and a rod and some baits and go catch a fish of a lifetime and have a great time. But for me, I love to have the gadgets, rig this thing out to completion, find what works best for me, makes it most enjoyable, because I love fishing from the kayak, especially with tournaments. So I'm gonna walk through all of this with you guys, and a huge shout out to all of our partners here at Be the Fish that make this thing possible. I could not have the gear I do without them, especially because it's top notch. I don't work with anything I don't believe in. The stuff that I have and that I use and the people I work with is for a reason. So enough about that. Let's go over to the GoPro. I'll walk you guys around the kayak and why I rig it out the way I do. And you'll have to let me know if you think this is the most decked out kayak you've ever seen. All right, guys, we were trying to film there. We had a gentleman stop by and ask questions about the rig, which a lot of people are asking, which is why we're filming the video. But it's cool to talk to people. I love when they ask questions. I love when people are curious about this because kayaks are fun. This is a little bit over the top, I will admit, but I like it, I love it, it's for me. So let's start walking through it. We're gonna walk through it from the front to the back. And I'll show you guys here. We got the front hatch. See, this comes down, make sure it's locked tight. Basically, I always use this for my baits, primarily the baits, but I have all my rain gear I can put in here, extra line, you know, different tools and accessories that I have here, as well as in my seat of the Hobie. But also, what I have here is an X2 Power Lithium 20 amp hour. That I'm going to end up having power GoPro, another GoPro, which we'll get to in a little bit, but also powers my TH Marine Hydrowave. You see this here in the mount, we'll get to that in a second. But this 20 amp hour I put in here has the wiring. We'll show you a little bit inside the hull in a second. But super big storage in here that you can put a lot of different stuff. Put my lunch in there, extra batteries, camera stuff. That way I know it's going to be, for the most part, able to not get wet. But that powers the Hydrowave, which is here on a Rail Blaza mount. These are super cool mounts. They make things so much easier, so much faster. And it comes down to this TH Marine Hydrowave. Essentially what I do is put this down in the water and it transmits a sound to bait fish. And you can work within the settings here to choose, pick and choose through your different modes to have it for different scenarios, different settings for what might be the situation, and help you catch a little bit more fish. Try to get those fish a little bit engaged. Maybe they're being lazy, maybe they're not biting as well as you want them to. This is a way that TH Marine Hydrowave is a great way to help kickstart, especially schooling fish or fishing grass. Things to kind of get things in motion, put some stuff on your side, and hopefully in the end, trigger more bites and have some more fun. So we're gonna come back to here in a second, but moving along here, we actually have, this is a Yak Hacker mount. Essentially what this is just for my paddle. I have my paddles back on there, but anytime that I'm up shallow, I'm standing up, I'm super shallow enough where I can't use my pedals, I have this here so that I can lay my paddle down. If I'm using it like a paddle board, I can have that there versus having to hold it or put it around my kayak somewhere. I can slap this down in a holster, keep it tight, it's not going anywhere. Pretty clutch little mount right here. And you can also dual verse this in having your net. It's a great way to put your net down, keep it in place, keep it out of the way, and not tangling up and taking up room inside the kayak. So moving along here, we got our heading sensor, our Humminbird heading sensor, and we have this here, actually a lot of wires coming out, as you can tell. We have our different points here, right there, which right here, Bass Fishing Electronics, if you guys want anything rigged, wiring, electronics, the units, stuff like that, are the best place to go to get all that. We got our 360 cables, but we have all of our Humminbird cables coming right out here to a Helix 10 and a Helix 9, both Gen 4s. And what that does, that runs all my Lake Master mapping. My 9 usually runs Lake Master, 2D, down imaging, side imaging, all the basic necessities. My 10 predominantly is for Mega Live, forward facing sonar. And that is where this mount right here comes into place. So we have this right here. This is actually the Sniper Marine mount. If you guys can see that, we got my Mega Live transducer there on the bottom. We have a Fishing Specialties plate mount that I just use it's a Hobie H-rail plate that I drilled onto this. Pretty sturdy. all this does is sits in here. And what's super cool about it is this motorcycle grip. I just twist it, and you can see how the arrow turns and turns my transducer. Makes life a lot easier when trying to use forward-facing sonar on the kayak, because it can be very difficult in regards to you're easily blown around on the lake with wind, all that jazz. It makes life a lot easier using the Sniper marine mount. Highly recommend. If you like it, I'll link it down below for you guys if you want to check it out, want to get some. Highly recommend if you have forward-facing sonar. But you might ask, hey Bailey, you have all this electronics on your kayak, how the heck are you powering all of that? Well, I will show you the answer. So obviously we have our pedals here. We'll take these out for the time being. Put that there. So right here in the hatch below where I sit, lift up there, and there is your answer. X2 Power 50 amp lithium. That 50 amp powers my Gen 4 Helix 9, Gen 4 Helix 10, my Mega Live, Mega 360, which actually I don't have rigged up on this. So take that in note. We're missing a Mega 360 on this too, which 360 usually goes right here. You see my 360 cords, that goes down so I can run both. That powers my entire system. Not only does it power it, it keeps it running for almost 2 full days on the water from dark to dark. And that's only on a 50 amp lithium. Now there are new models that are available. You can get them at your local Batteries Plus. Like they have now a 12 volt 125 amp. Take that on for our people that use motors. It's pretty dang clutch. It's a lot of power. Might be bumping up to maybe a 75 just so I can go, because I'm lazy. I don't like to charge stuff, because if I charge stuff, I forget them the next day. So I might bump up just for the pure fact of I'm a lazy angler. I acknowledge that. I want to be able to have as much power as possible and charge the least amount of times so that I forget less things. So 50 amp, highly recommend checking out X2 Power, top-notch lithium batteries and AGM for all you boat folk. As well as if you have a truck or vehicle, if you get the X2 AGM, your vehicle runs, never have any more issues with batteries. Now you can put stuff under this on the Hobie. You have a lot of room under here. I have my Spro terminal box here, which I'll show you this just to brag a little bit, because my OCD is very satisfied with all this organization here. But you can take that, take deep boxes and such, like if you have big swim baits, that type of thing that you don't want to put in a tackle crate. You can slide a bunch of stuff under there, waters, lunch bags, whatever you want, you can put those there. And I have right here on the side, tethered to my seat, I have my board that is designed for kayak fishing tournaments. Again, that is tethered to my seat right there. Got a donkey leash where if I never use this in a tournament, I have it leashed down here where if you want to catch a big fish, or you're trying to keep fish, that type of deal, you can have that, put it off the side, it's still tied on. Just something I like to have to handy just in case. When it is warm out and dry out, I have a phone tether right here as well that I will just put down in here. Otherwise, it's being used for different tools and such of that nature. And you can see both sides have them, so I have like scissors in there, but I also have different things along the seat here that I can put my tools on. So a lot of different things that you can do up front in regards to being able to accessorize, put different things, like I mentioned, with all the rail blaza mounts here to have different GoPro angles, things of that sort that make trying to make videos, make content in kayak fishing, getting cool shots, making memories of them, and having a good time very, very easy and efficient. So before we start moving to the back, we have our Hobie backpack here, which this is not the cord that I usually use, but I have my camera mount here to rail blaza mount. I have a rail blaza mount here as well for usually when I put a flag if it's for tournaments, or I can have different rod holders, things of that nature. These little rail blaza mounts are clutch. I have my rail blaza camera arm here that usually has this battery here, this giant portable charger that sits in the backpack, and all my other tools such as like scales, pliers, sunscreen, all that jazz. I got a bunch of different stuff in here. Super clutch little backpack, but that keeps my GoPro, my back GoPro, the most important one to keep everything functioning, keeps that moving, keeps it powered up, makes life super easy. But I'm gonna eventually get another X2 that is going to sit here. It's going to power camera, and some of my other necessities as well. So moving towards the back here, we have obviously our torpedo here. This is the module that when you turn on, you can control your motor. So I do have a motor on this. It's the Torpedo 403 AC. That simply, you take your magnet here, put that on. That is your safety net. So this comes off, the motor stops. You have to have that on for the motor to work. Just turn it on, thrust forward, thrust back, whichever you do. Makes life super easy. And the most important part of the kayak, the PFD. I trust Mustang. I don't work with them. They just make the best stuff out there. Highly recommend. And to the back we have our tackle crate. This is very slimmed down. Very slimmed down. I only have 2 rods. Usually I'm really bad about bringing a lot of gear out in the kayak. So there's 2 different options you can do from a rod standpoint. With the Hobie, you can have rods standing up in the crate. But what I do, especially if you're going to be going under trees and different things where you don't want rods standing up, if you don't want to be taking them out, laying down type of deal, the nice part about Hobie is it has the horizontal mounts. So you can put your rod in there, have them sitting on the side. Does take up feet space, but it is nice in the fact that you can go under stuff and not have to worry about your rods getting broken or laying everything down or forgetting anything of that nature. I will say though, you put rod socks on them, don't damage your rods. You put rod socks on them, they all fit more. You can fit more that way if you put rod socks on. So here, got my Hobie H crate, something simple that I can cover this thing up. I can have an additional mount. The nice part about having these here is the Hobie H crate has H rails on the box, so I can put more rail blaza mounts here. Put as many boxes as I want in here, different small boxes, plastics, things like that. Different bags with like big heads, all that stuff. Put waters in there, snacks. And then in the back, I got my Torpedo battery, which fires up my Torpedo 403 AC, which I don't work with Torpedo, but it makes life a lot easier when you are on the water all day, you're tired, you're whooped. Help for getting back in the day when you're whooped and you don't want to pedal anymore. So that is basically the synopsis of it, but what we'll do really fast before we wrap this thing up here, I will show you guys what all the wiring does. So you see all the wiring here for all the different units and things coming out back in there. I'll show you where that all stems from. So if you look down in there, I have the wall. There's a guy, I believe his name's Tim Percy. I could be butchering that, I apologize. But right there, that's all my electricals on one switch, so that if something dies, the whole unit doesn't go down. So it keeps everything organized, protected. Really love that. Big shout out to my folks at Morgan Marine. They are the reason for putting that in there. Ryan rigged all of that. Did an incredible job. So if you're in the Northeast, you're looking to get a Hobie or a kayak, they run Jacksons as well. Morgan Marine is the place to go if you want a kayak in the Northeast. You can check them out. I'll put a link down below, as well as the rest of my partners, discount codes, all that jazz. That's all down in every show description. You guys can check them out, take advantage of them. But that is going to do it. Hope you guys appreciate that video. Let me know what you think. I think this kayak is freaking loaded, and we still have more things we're even gonna try to put on there. I'd say the biggest things that are missing from it are like a shallow water anchor, things of that nature, maybe some small wiring from an LED standpoint, but I think it's pretty dang decked out from a gadget standpoint. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see y'all on the next one.